What's up, guys? I wanted to share something pretty freaking awesome this morning that, this was a huge growth moment for me. And, I suspect, sorry for the angle, guys. I'm in my wife's truck and there isn't anywhere to put my phone. Anyway, I suspect that this might be something that some of you guys deal with. I know I certainly do. And, my wife and I, we've got a very strong marriage, strong relationship. I personally have always dealt with anger. Anger is one of my issues that I deal with. And I'm working on what are the roots and all that work. And I've made a lot of progress. But one of the things that I realized that I do, my wife and I don't have blowout arguments. We're not a very passionate fighting couple like that. But when we get into a discussion, or if we have somewhere where we don't even just see eye to eye on something, I tend to pull back into myself. And that's a bit of a self-defense mechanism in that, I think that sometimes I'm just pissed and I don't want to risk my anger boiling over. I don't know how to articulate that very well. Sometimes it's because she said something that I don't necessarily want to hear, and it's something that I'm going to have to face. And anyway, so let me give you a really quick situation of what happened, so I don't ramble too much. As I'm starting my own business, and I need a new laptop. And this is not a big deal. We have the finances, but we are in drastic expense reduction mode. Just because we want to move away from the city, we want to downsize our lives, and we want to do all these sorts of things. So, for whatever reason, that aren't important here, I need to get a laptop. I need a new laptop. I was using one for work and sort of doubling up from a career perspective. But now I can't use that laptop anymore. And as my work starts to grow, there are some conflicts around how I'm using my other employer's equipment and stuff like that. So anyway, we've been talking about getting a laptop, and she is much more conservative financially than I am. And while she agrees that I need to get a laptop and to make this capital expenditure, and the one I want, of course, is not cheap, because I've always been raised, if you're going to buy something, buy the best you can get and then have it last. Anyway, the point being, she expressed some concerns about timing, and anyway, we had a bit of a back and forth. And I got really quiet, as I do, and I went outside and I mowed the lawn. Because what do you do when you're pissed and don't want to be in front of your spouse? You go work. So I mowed the lawn, and as I'm mowing the lawn, I'm thinking to myself, you're doing this thing again. You're doing exactly what you've committed to not doing, and she's probably inside feeling like shit, and that's not cool. So I walked in. She was working away, because that's what she does when she's pissed. And I just looked her in the eye and I said, hey, I'm sorry. This isn't about you. This isn't about you not supporting me properly on this new endeavor. This isn't about you having done something wrong or failed to say the right thing. This is me listening to your very sound arguments and having to wrestle with some of the shit from my past in terms of some of the bad financial calls that I've made in the past. And this is a self-confidence issue. And also, I told her straight up, I get afraid that if I don't bottle up and deal with how I'm feeling, that I'm going to get angry with you and mad. And I never wanted that, but I also acknowledge, this is me still saying this to her, I acknowledge that me clamming up and walking away is really abusive to you, and is me being angry and mean and malicious, and withholding my love and withholding my energy is probably way worse than me ever saying that thing that you've said makes me angry or whatever. And we acknowledge that we're both really growing in a relationship as human beings. And I don't know what the answer is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to spend the money on a laptop or what we're going to end up doing. That's not the point. But man, are we ever in a really awesome place, because this was Saturday morning of a long weekend. It's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us on Saturday, so we can enjoy this sort of Sunday, Monday off. And I'm actually taking Tuesday off as well. And instead of us being pissy with each other and cold and distant and frustrated, we're just awesome. And that level of communication was huge in terms of me just being able to say to her, this is why I've reacted the way that I've reacted, and I'm sorry how this makes you feel. This is how I'm feeling, and let's work through this together, open and honestly, as opposed to me just being a cold prick and then you thinking that somehow you're a bad wife for not supporting me in the way that I should be supported, etc., etc., etc. So if you're that kind of person who clams up and just kind of keeps it to yourself when you're in an argument, you're probably, if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, I'm doing this for them. I'm sparing them my anger. I'm sparing them my wrath. I can guarantee that you're not. What you're doing is you're going to allow them to start to draw conclusions and start to come up with their own narrative, which, man, you know what, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the right narrative. And you're going to allow these situations to blow up and to spin out of control. And even if you need to have an uncomfortable conversation, even if you do need to say to your spouse, that thing you said pissed me off, I'm angry, then I would much rather have that conversation and be in control of that narrative than walk away stewing over it, internalizing that toxicity, and then also allowing them to sit there and stew in it and come up with their own conclusions. Because then eventually when you ultimately deal with it, and you're going to have to ultimately deal with it, it's going to be 100 times worse. So I wanted to share that amazing win. I do want to thank Traver, and it was one of his guests, I can't remember who talked about this whole thing about clamming up and you know, withholding your love and how toxic and hostile that really is. That was a huge moment for me. And man, I'm looking forward to this weekend now, as opposed to it having gone off the rails like it would have in the past. So thanks so much for the contributions of Traver and the group, but also, man, hopefully that you can take something away from that. But most of all, I just wanted to share an important win. Love you all. Talk soon.